Okay, Lisanji just joined. Good morning. All right, make sure that you say something in the chat so I know that you're here, because this is how I take attendance, because if I were to take it right now, it would steal some time. So I just, when class is over, I just go to the beginning of the chat and I see who said hello, and bada bing, bada boom. Okay, so, oh wait, the camera's a little weird. Okay. So this morning I woke up and I felt like absolute garbage, and I still don't feel great. So I told my other section that I might need to leave early just in case I need to, run to the bathroom or whatever. Good morning, Hennessy's. I felt good enough that I was able to complete the whole class. So se lo digo por si acaso, pero I'm sure I'll be fine, because if I survive the other class, I'll survive this one too. But yeah, just in case, si ven que le grito like me tengo que ir, and then I just end the recording, the class, then no se asusten. It's just that I don't feel well. But anyways, let's get right to it. So last time what happened here? Okay. So last time we were working with, where is that presentation? Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay. We are working with this presentation, which I will now start presenting. Okay. So we were working on this presentation, and we had finished identifying the parts of speech. Remember that this was, noun, pronoun, verb, adjective, adverb, conjunction, preposition, interjection, and articles. So we were supposed to do this to create sentences with parts of speech, but basically, I could assign this later. We don't have to do this right now. So let's talk about the be verb. So the be verb is used to say something about the subject in our sentence. Remember that the subject is who we are talking about. It is very important because it provides information about the amount of people or things. So it tells us whether it's singular or plural. And it tells us the tense, which could be past, present, or future, and any of its alterations. So it could be simple past, it could be present progressive, it could be future perfect, etc. So be verbs, they change. The be verb really is an irregular verb. Es un verbo irregular, which modifies depending on the tense. So in the present, we use different be verbs than we do when we're talking about a past sentence. So according to the tense, and also according to the noun or the pronoun here. So in the present tense, if we're talking about yourself, you would use am. I am. If we're talking about somebody else, specifically you, we could use are. And remember that you is either singular or plural. This would be more context-based because, well, we are using the same be verb in both singular and plural you. We use is with he, she, or it, and we use are with we and they. In the past tense, am becomes was. Are becomes were. And if you notice, in the past tense, you only have these two options. It's was or were. And that's why they repeat down here. So they were, you were, we were, you were as well. This is singular and this is plural. And this continues for all three tenses, by the way. Anyways. And we can also change the be verb in the future tense. So be is am, was, or will be, or am going. There's three different ways of expressing that, because future tense, since it's something that is either likely to happen or really an event that hasn't happened yet, you can express it in different ways. So this would be the simple present. This would be I forgot this one. I'll tell you about it later. And then this will be the progressive. Oh yeah, this is the simple but with will be. Anyways, so I will, like, let's say I will dance, I will be dancing, or I am going to dance. And there's another one in which we could say I am going to be dancing, which is more complicated and it's highly unnecessary, but it all depends on how you write that specific sentence. Anyways, so the main idea of this is to see that in the present, you use a different set of be verbs, which really, if you see, it's just am, are, and is. It's just these three. Are is the most versatile of them. You only use am with I, and you only use is with he, she, or it. Remember that this is pronouns. You could interchange it with a noun. So we could use he, let's say Marcos. Marcos is a person. We could say she. Let's say she, my mom. My mom is 60 years old. We could use it for either, let's say, an animal whose gender is unknown or an object. So let's say the book. So it is gonna become the book. So it is square. The book is square. Just an example. Anyways, let's continue. So let's do a couple of practice exercises. This first sentence, let me see who's actually here. Hold on. So, en el mismo orden que me contestaron, Nayeli, Josué, Rachel, Michelle, and Jelianis. You're going to complete these sentences in that order, not this presentation, this one.
La primera sería I am.
You am what? Complete the sentence.
I am walking to campus right now.
Exactly right. Very good. Continuamos. Who was the next one? Josué. So Josué, this sentence right here.
Maria was at the town center yesterday.
Very good, Josué. Thank you. Rachel. Go away. Rachel, this.
They will be studying at the library last week.
Okay. Let's take a look at this sentence, though. They studying at the library last week. Esas dos palabras, what do they mean in Spanish? Last week.
La semana pasada.
They were studying at the library.
Okay, so last week, la semana pasada, estamos hablando de el pasado. We're not talking about present. We're not talking about future either. So let's see if this is a past. If this implies that the sentence is in the past tense, then we have to use a past verb. And somebody already said it, but I want somebody to say the whole sentence correctly.
They were.
The whole sentence?
At the library last week.
Perfecto. They were studying at the library last week. Very good. Thank you. Let's continue. That was Rachel, I think. So let's go with Michelle. The next. Oh my God, stop. Okay. So Michelle, we going to Vieques in the summer. And we can use either am, are, or is.
Creo que están escribiendo por el grupo o algo, no sé.
Okay, I'm going to go check it out. Sí, Michelle. Okay. Oh, by the way, Jose, hello. Good morning. So Michelle wrote are. Let's see. Stop. These notifications are annoying. Okay. She said are. We are going to Vieques in the summer. Okay, good. It would sound weird if we said we am going to Vieques or we is going to Vieques. Though actually in some parts of the United States, you could argue for the correctness of is going, but that is a little bit more complicated. That is a little bit outside of my jurisdiction. That's more for deeper linguistics. Anyways, and the last one, it would be, hold on. Gelianis. So Gelianis, this last sentence here.
Pedro will be at home next weekend.
Fantastic. Exactly. Very good. So we have this next weekend, which implies, of course, future. So, of course, if the sentence is in the future tense, we need to use a future verb. So we can't say Pedro were at home next weekend. And we can't say Pedro was at home next weekend because that wouldn't make sense. Would be using a verb that is in one tense, but using vocabulary that implies another tense. So yes, we have to make sure that the verb that we use is always congruent with the tense of the sentence. I know that was a little weird to say, but it's done. Let's continue. Okay, so this is in case you guys want to use an actual physical dictionary. I'm assuming that with classes being online that you don't really need a dictionary because you can just use an online dictionary just fine, but still have to do it just in case. So a good monolingual dictionary should, and monolingual means just one language. So a good monolingual dictionary should always list all the possible meanings for a word. There's words out there that can have more than one meaning based on their context, because you could be using it as a noun or as an adjective, depending. You could also be using it as a verb. A good monolingual dictionary should be as recent as possible. Of course, a dictionary that was printed in the 80s or the 90s may not be as relevant because language evolves, especially nowadays with the use of online and online communications. A good monolingual dictionary should include sentences with examples. We're going to see that in a moment. And it should have guidelines for pronunciation. So this is an example of words within the English language that may have more than one meaning. So we have stable, bark, and check. Stable can evoke more than one meaning, such as what we're going to see right now. We went to the stable with the kids yesterday. So here, stable is working as a noun. It could be a place, it could be a thing. En español sería un establo o un rancho. My aunt had a stroke, but she is stable now. Okay, in this case, we're talking about a state of being for a person. My aunt es tía. My aunt had a stroke. Mi tía tuvo un derrame, pero ahora está estable. Do not sit on that chair. It is not stable. Okay, so in this one, we're also using it as a state of being, but for an inanimate object. So we're saying that the chair is wobbly. We're saying that that chair has a bad leg. We're saying something about that chair that we can't really say about a human being in the same context. We have bark. Of course, the first sentence, Eric's dogs bark at his neighbors every day. Of course, this one uses bark as the dogs voicing their opinions. This is also, bark can be used to make compost. Bark in this case is that hard covering around the tree stump. Inside is the wood, but the outside of the tree is called bark in English. And for the life of me, I've been trying to remember how to say it in Spanish, and I forgot. I'll figure it out later. And yesterday, we ate a pound of chocolate bark. In this case, it's neither the dog's opinion, and it's not really that somebody was going to say something. Yes.
Sí, el significado de bark en español, ¿qué es?
Depende. En este caso, el ladrido. En este caso, you mean?
Yes.
Ok. Esa es la cubierta que tiene el árbol. Ahora mismo no recuerdo cómo se llama.
Corteza.
La corteza. Eso mismo. Thank you.
Ok. O sea que tiene, no es como stable, que literalmente casi todo es lo mismo. Es como que aquí da de verdad diferentes significados.
Yes, exactly. Remember that stable here means like un ranchón o pues donde tú guardas los caballos. En este caso pues sería estabilidad o física o de un objeto. But yes, exacto. En este caso we are talking about a dog's voice. We are talking about la corteza de un árbol. And in this one, we ate a pound of chocolate bark. Ya con la palabra chocolate, we can imply that this is a type of candy. En español sería más cercano como a un turrón, pero el chocolate bark no es duro.
Okay.
It's kind of the same shape, but it's not really the same texture. And going on to check. Of course, tenemos diferentes usos para check. I'm assuming that you guys already have a couple of them in mind. We are going to check the car engine tomorrow. So this is a visual inspection of the engine. I need you to write a check to pay for the cake. So this is actually, the check is, of course, that piece of paper that you write on, and you can either send or receive money using this. But in this case, in the second sentence, check is similar, but it's not the same as this check over here. Jessica asked the waiter for the check. En este caso, estamos diciendo that Jessica está pidiendo la cuenta. It's like she's eating at a restaurant and she wants to pay. So she's asking for a detailed summary of what she ordered and how much everything cost. And these are all different. These are kind of similar because they both have to do with money, but in reality, they're very different. And let's continue with cognates. So we just saw words that were identical and had similar meanings. Cognates are like that, but between two languages. Words that are similar to each other in different languages. Let's say Spanish and English, which are the languages that we are comfortable with. For example, hospital. In Spanish, se diría hospital. Adult. In Spanish, we could add an O or an A at the end y se convierte en adulto o adulta. And finally, confusion. In Spanish, we add una tilde y se convierte en confusión. And there are many other cognates. I want you to write in the chat any other cognates that you can think of. Let's take a couple of minutes just to see what cognates you guys come up with. Okay. Doctor, muy bien. Josué, doctor, doctor. Same meaning, written the same. You just say it differently because of the language. Karim, no, no, exacto. Sebastián, radio, radio, good.
No entendí muy bien la definición de eso que acabas de decir, de cognate.
Cognates. Pues como escribí aquí en el chat, cognates are words that are similar in Spanish and English. So, por ejemplo, we could use a word, como dice Josué, doctor, que literalmente significa lo mismo y se escribe igual. Doctor, doctor. But I prefer Nayeli's example because ancient and anciano. They are written very similarly, si lo miran bien, and of course they mean the same thing. Serial, glamour, glamoroso, I guess, sure. Inevitable, idea, pizza, nice, nice. Lava. Okay, lava could also be a false cognate. We're going to see that soon. Process, proceso, muy bien. Television, televisión. Spaghetti, espagueti, sure. Original, original, sure. When you turn on the radio, what do you hear? What do you listen to? Music. And of course, en español es música. So, yeah, the fact that we have these words here, music and música, they're written very similarly and they mean the same thing. And this is across two languages. That is a cognate. Static, estática, good. Computer, computador o computadora, sure. There are other words, that abortion, aborto, sure. Telephone, teléfono, nice. I'm going to go back to the presentation here. Luis, very good. Rachel también, good, good. Coming back to cognates. These were true cognates, but let's take a look at false cognates. And this is basically the same thing, but these are words that they sound similar between both languages, but they actually mean something different. Like, for example, carpet and carpeta are not the same. Carpet in Spanish would be more like alfombra. And carpeta, of course, is where you're supposed to keep papers. And we have also table and tabla. Written very much the same, except for this last vowel. But table means mesa, and tabla, well, it's a different thing. Cup and copa. Of course, you could make an argument that you drink both out of a cup and out of una copa. Like, let's say I drink water or juice out of a cup. I drink wine from una copa or champagne. So they are both drinking vessels, but the exact shape and purpose is different. So that's why these are false cognates. Nude and pie. Nude, of course, means the absence of clothing, somebody that's naked. En español, el false cognate sería nudo, which of course does not have the naked meaning, but of course it's like a piece of string that you tie, un nudo. And pie. Se escribe igualito que otra palabra en español, which is a body part, which is where you put your shoes on. Okay, so there are many, many different false cognates. I'd like you to tell me any false cognates that come to mind, and tell me about that in the chat.
Sí, en cognates adults es adulto, pero no tiene la O porque entonces está en esa categoría.
I'm not exactly sure si te entendí, Sonaide.
Que arriba, en
Ajá.
la segunda, el segundo ejemplo, que en español sería adulto, ¿verdad?
Mhm.
Pero no tiene la O, que pues no, porque está.
Okay, because cognates or false, well, let's talk about positive cognates, real cognates. They don't have to be written exactly the same. Of course, there are words que se repiten, que son iguales, like cereal or inevitable, inevitable idea, sure. Pero hay otras palabras que son true cognates, que se escriben tan y tan parecido and they have the same meaning between both languages, and that is why they're cognates. Okay? So no es solamente que son idénticos en cada forma, pero sino que son tan y tan parecidos que pudieran ser idénticos. Does that make sense?
Sí.
All right, good. So, continuing with false cognates. Grocery, grosería, nice. Largo, large, good. Exit, éxito, muy bien. I'm gonna stop presenting for 1 second para enseñarle algo para ver si captan uno más. Okay. So here I have a list of your names. So I put a mark next to your name every day. What am I doing?
Eso es si participamos en la clase.
Bueno, esto es que usted está presente día a día. What is that? How do you say that in Spanish? And is there a word in English that sounds like it?
Pues sería present, ¿verdad?
Present, presente, sure.
Lista, ¿verdad?
Lista, but actually that's a true
Asistencia
cognate.
and Bueno, ok.
Ahí está, Yeliani. That's exactly what I wanted to say. So, asistencia, Eildelis y Josué y Luis. Okay. Estaba más pendiente del audio que el chat, but yes, exactly. So, asistencia has a word in English called assist or assistance. And it sounds similar and it's written similarly, but it actually means something different. Porque yo tomar asistencia, you don't say I take assistance, because assistance is to help somebody out. You would say I take attendance. Of course, somebody else, I don't remember who it was, dijo present y presente. Those are also false cognates, because present sería un regalo and presente would be like right now. Yes, exactamente. Yeliani's also assistant. Very good. I'm going to see the other ones you've mentioned. Exit concourse, Joniel. Concourse, concurso. Nice. Dinner, dinero. I never thought about that one, but you're right. That makes sense. Record y recordar. Exacto. Because I am recording the class. Yo no digo yo estoy recordando la clase. That sounds weird. Car, carro. Fíjate, Josué, this is a true cognate. It's not a false cognate, because car and carro are the same thing in both languages. Just because, como le dije a quién fue? A Sonaide, they can be written a little bit differently, but they mostly are identical. So, si se fijan, car exists inside of the word carro. We have asistencia, assistance, assistance. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. Okay, where is it? And of course, that was the end of that presentation. This one is already available since Monday. We're going to see this next presentation now. Go away. Thank you. Okay, so we were reviewing some things that you've learned already in Basic 1, some things that you should already know, pero siempre es bueno repasar, because I want you guys to be fresh. So we're going to be reviewing verb tenses now. We're going to start with the simple present tense. So the simple present, what is this? These are actions, things, and events that we do or that we do not do, or that happen every day, normally, usually, or always. Okay? Si usted se fija, estas palabras, every day, normally, usually, always, if you look at these words, they are telling you how often these things happen. And these types of words are actually frequency adverbs. Oh, it loads automatically. Okay. So this tells you how frequently something happens. And the fact that we have these frequency adverbs, it can be used as a little hint to tell us that this is the simple present. Okay? So let's take a look at these examples. I usually cook at home when I can. It normally rains in Mayagüez every day. And we don't need a frequency adverb, though. We have usually and every day in these first two sentences. But in the third sentence, Marcos drives to school, there is no frequency adverb. All three of these sentences are in the simple present. And they don't always need frequency adverbs. So let's take a look at these verbs here. So I usually cook at home when I can. What do I do at home? I cook. So in this case, cook is the main verb, and it is in its base form. By that, I mean that the verb is not modified in any way. Okay? This next sentence adds a little modification to the main verb. It's underlined. So, it normally rains in Mayagüez every day. What happens in Mayagüez every day? It rains. You see here that this is just cook, nothing else. And in this one, we have the main verb rain, and we add the letter S. We're going to see why very soon. And of course, we have here, without the frequency adverb, we have Marcos drives to school. What does Marco do to go to school? Marcos drives. We could change the noun, the subject of the sentence, and it would still make sense. So we could change Marcos to the pronoun he, for example. He drives to school, and it still makes sense. We could change Marcos to a female. I don't know, Maria. Maria drives to school. You can change Maria to a pronoun. I see a pronoun. She drives to school, and it still makes sense. Let's continue. Okay, so esta tablita tells us about frequency adverbs and how often they're used, and it also tells us that they can be positive or they can be negative. So basically, how we can tell whether or not they're positive or negative, let's take a look at this. These are always or almost always, or sometimes or frequently. Te está diciendo que more often than not, things happen. Okay? So positive means that something is happening, but negative, seldom, rarely, hardly ever, almost never, not never, ever. Not ever, never, sorry. So these are telling us that something doesn't happen, or it barely ever happens. We'll see what that means in a second. There are some rules about where you put frequency adverbs. They usually happen in the middle of a sentence. And sometimes they have special positions, as is seen in examples A through E. So de aquí a acá, you can see the position of the frequency adverbs. And if you look over here and here, these are written fine, like normally, but these over here are written in bold. Hopefully you guys can see my mouse pointer. These are written in bold. And these can also occur at the beginning or at the end of a sentence. Let's see what that means. So let's say usually, often, frequently, generally, sometimes. Sometimes. So I sometimes get up at 6:30. Sometimes is basically in the second position. Sometimes I get up at 6:30. It is at the beginning of the sentence. And I get up at 6:30 sometimes. In this case, it is at the end of the sentence. So these bolded frequency adverbs can change positions within the sentence. They could be at the beginning, they could be at the middle, they could be at the end. These are just these in boldface. The other adverbs in the list, such as these negative ones and those first positive two, they rarely occur at the beginning or at the end of a sentence. Their usual position is in the middle. So basically, if you don't know where to put these, they basically almost always go in the middle of a sentence. Let's take a look at this first sentence here. Karen always tells the truth. We have the subject, Karen. We have the frequency adverb, always. And we have the verb, tells. Okay? Frequency adverbs usually come between the subject and the simple present verb, except to be. We'll see that in a second. So we have the subject and we have the verb, and in between that, we have the frequency adverb, which is basically what this is saying here. If we were to change that order, then it would be an incorrect sentence, such as always, Karen tells the truth. Even in Spanish, it sounds weird. Siempre Karen dice la verdad. It sounds better to say Karen siempre dice la verdad. Okay, let's continue to sentence B, example B. So we have the subject Karen, we have the be verb is, and with the frequency adverb always. And of course, on time. Frequency adverbs follow be. So in this case, we had the verb and the frequency adverb switch places. because this is a be verb. So in the simple present, whenever we have a be verb, the frequency adverb is always going to be after the be verb. And remember that in the simple present, we have am, is, and are. Those are the be verbs. And in the simple past, we use was and were. Okay, so we could change this be verb here from is to a simple past be verb, which would be was. So Karen was always on time. That's if Karen has passed away or if she's no longer arriving on time. Let's go to example C. Do you always eat breakfast? This is a question. So in a question, frequency adverbs come directly after the subject. Okay? So the subject here is do you. So after that, we have the frequency adverb, always. Excuse me, do is the verb, sorry. Anyways, continuing over here. D. Anne usually doesn't eat breakfast. This is a negative sentence. It's saying that Anne does not eat breakfast. That's why it's negative, because it's saying no. In a negative sentence, most frequency adverbs come in front of a negative verb. So we have the verb here, eat, and it's negative because it's saying she does not eat. And we have the the frequency adverb usually. Okay, and usually comes right before that negative verb. Okay? But now we have an example, always. Always follows a negative helping verb, as in the sentence E, or a negative form of be. Oh my God, sorry. What this means follows, es que viene después de. So we have Sue doesn't always eat breakfast. So always is going to go right after the negative verb. So Sue does not eat breakfast. This is saying the same thing, okay? And usually doesn't eat breakfast, and Sue doesn't always eat breakfast. But if you notice, the frequency adverbs and the negative verbs have changed positions here. And always comes after the negative helping verb, okay? Let's go to F. Negative adverbs, which are those right here, seldom, rarely, hardly ever, never, are not used within a negative verb. So if we have a negative verb, we can't also use a negative adverb. Let's see this in action. Anna never eats meat. She could be vegetarian, she could be vegan. She just doesn't eat meat at all. That's the correct way of saying that. If we were to use a negative adverb with the negative verb, we would get this sentence here, which is incorrect. Anna doesn't never eat meat. We have a negative here, does not, and we have a negative frequency adverb here, never. Es como en matemática. In math, if you have two negatives, they cancel each other out and it becomes positive. So really, this sentence is incorrect because what this sentence is really saying is that Anna eats meat, because these two negatives cancel each other out. Let's go to the last two sentences here. Do you ever take the bus to work? Yes, I do. I often take the bus. We're going to use ever. So ever is used in questions about frequency, as in the sentence here. It means at any time. So ever es en cualquier momento. Do you ever take the bus to work? En algún momento tú tomas el autobús para llegar al trabajo. Sí, muchas veces tomo el autobús. Ever is also used with not. So ever se puede convertir en negativo. So not ever, which is basically never. I don't ever walk to work. Yo nunca camino al trabajo. But ever.
Pero en ese sentido, don't es como una palabra negativa y ever también. ¿No se hace positiva?
Bueno, se me cayó algo. Sorry. Me estabas preguntando about ever. So ever automáticamente es positivo. Al ponerle el don't, entonces se convierte en negativo. I don't know if that answers your question because I'm not sure I understood it.
Ok, ever es positivo.
Sí.
Pero no dice ahí que están los negativos arriba. Ajá, por ahí.
Bueno, lo que estamos viendo aquí es que ever está con alguna otra palabra. So hardly ever, almost, excuse me, hardly ever or not ever. You don't use ever by itself en negativo. Whenever you use ever by itself, en verdad es positivo.
Ok, cuando tú lo pones con otra palabra que puede ser negativa, ahí es que entonces el ever coge como que la función del negativo.
Exactly. Porque hardly ever es como decir casi nunca o rara la vez. And not ever es literalmente nunca.
Ok, perfecto, ok, gracias.
Okay. And I don't ever walk to work es como que rara la vez camino al trabajo o nunca camino al trabajo. Ahora, lo que quería llegar ahora con esta última, ever is not used in statements. Lo que dice aquí, I ever walk to work. En este caso, aunque sea positivo, ever by itself no funciona en esta oración. I ever walk to work. Si tiene el negativo, entonces it can function in that sentence. But if it's just by itself positively, it won't be grammatical within positive statements. Pero we're not going to focus on that just yet. Eso está un poquito más tarde. This table, by the way, is in page 10 of your Fundamentals of English Grammar book. Let me see what time it is. I think we still have some time. So really, to make simple present sentences, there is a formula that if you follow this formula, you'll always make a correct simple present sentence. All we need to do is make sure that we have a subject. Recuerden que el subject is whoever we're talking about. We have a verb, of course, the action, and it could use the S or it could not use the S depending on the subject. And of course, the object, which is the person or the thing that receives the action. There's also a formula with frequency adverbs, which is the same thing. So because you have subject, we have verbs, we have object, but we have the frequency adverb in between the subject and the verb, which actually was mentioned somewhere along here. Frequency adverbs usually come between the subject and the simple present verb. So you add S to the verb when the subject is he, she, or it. Okay? Vamos a ver cómo funciona eso. We have the verb eat, cook, and clean. So in this case, we have the sentence, the cat only eats tuna. We can change the noun cat and change it into a pronoun. So if we don't know if we know the cat's gender, let's say the cat is a boy, let's say the cat is male, then we could use he. He only eats tuna. Same thing with if the cat is female, we could use she. She only eats tuna. If we don't know the cat's gender, then we could just use it, and it's still grammatically correct. So it only eats tuna. When it has any of these three pronouns, or it can be exchanged for one of those three pronouns, then we can add S. Cook. My mom usually cooks on Sunday. You don't say, my mom usually cook. You have to add the S in that case. And the S in the verb does not imply that, it does not imply pluralization. It only means conjugation with these pronouns. But now we have two names, Luis and Joel, but we don't use the S here. Why is that? Well, we have to see Luis and Joel. Can we change Luis and Joel to he? Yes or no? Anybody?
No, we can
Okay.
change it for they, but they is not there.
Exactly right. Because Luis and Joel are two people, so it's plural. So no podemos cambiarlo para él, en este caso, sería ellos, which is plural. And in that case, Luis and Joel working as a unit, they don't add the S. But let's take a look at something really quick here. Let me zoom in. Okay, what if I were to erase one of the boys? And now it's just Joel.
Yes, cleans with S.
Exactly right. In that case, we would have to add the S because now we can change I was pointing with my finger. Now we can change Joel to he, and then he always cleans, and then their room on Fridays. It could be their room, it could be his room, depending on whose room is being cleaned. But this also works the other way, because we could eliminate Joel, like in The Last of Us 2, and we could just say Luis always cleans their room on Fridays or his room on Fridays. If we were to just focus on one of the two boys, then we could add the S. But since they're working together, it doesn't have the S. Okay. So the frequency adverbs are in this list. Excuse me. We have in this list right here, which we also found in this page 10. And this is just a little practice exercise. Fill in the correct form of the verbs. So we have this first sentence, we blank a nice garden. We're using the to have verb. So in the simple present, how do we say this sentence correctly? Anybody can turn on your mic and say it. Ahora mismo, since we're short on time, I prefer microphone over chat, please.
We have a nice garden.
Exactly right. We eliminate to, and we just keep have in this one. We have a nice garden. That's good. The next sentence, she blank 6 years old. And now we have a be verb.
She is 6 years old.
Exactly right. I heard a male voice. I don't know what you said.
She is 6 years old.
Is good, but then somebody else spoke at the same time. No sé quién era y no sé qué dijo. Okay, anyways, is fine. Is perfect. Simon, 2 rabbits and 5 goldfish. How do we use to have in this sentence? Simon, 2 rabbits and 5 goldfish. Has,
Used
exactly
to.
right.
Oh.
Remember, used to have sería pasado. So we're working with the simple present only. Of course, we're going to work with past later. So en el futuro, that answer would be correct. Right now, well, seeing as we're in simple present, we're going to focus on simple present verbs. So yes, whoever said has was correct. Simon has 2 rabbits and 5 goldfish. And the verb to have, it follows the same rules of adding the S as we just saw over here. And since have is an irregular verb, we don't have to add, like, for example, I'm just going to write it right here. We don't just, add S. This is wrong. Since it's irregular, it actually changes. And it still means the same thing, but now it's conjugated towards this verb, this tense, sorry. Continue. Con los 2 minutos que nos quedan, Dios mío. I blank from Aguadilla.
I am.
I am.
Okay, very good, both of you. I am from Aguadilla. And finally, they blank Sandy's parents.
They are.
They are. And why do we use am for this sentence, but we use are for this one?
Because in the first one, you're talking about yourself. I am. And the second one are like 2 people or more people.
Exactly right. So I is, of course, singular, una sola persona, and it's also yourself. So we use am. And then this one, it is plural. So plural uses are. And exactly, we have a nice garden. She is 6 years old. Simon has 2 rabbits. I am from Aguadilla, and they are Sandy's parents. Oh, it's already time. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you these answers. Oh, God. So I get up usually late on Saturdays, I get usually up late on Saturdays, or I usually get up late on Saturdays. So the correct way to phrase this sentence would be I usually get up. And con esto terminamos. Jared never is late for work, or Jared is never late for work. In this case, we are going to use is never. I can explain why maybe during the next class. So pendientes for Friday. I'm gonna stop presenting.
Perdóname que te interrumpa, la primera que acabas de decir,
Ujú.
que era I late on on Saturdays. ¿Cuál era la contestación? Es que no pude escuchar muy bien.
Oh, la número uno, it's letter C. I usually get up late on Saturdays. So it's 1C.
Gracias.
You got it. So, of course, time is up. Nos pasamos por un minutito. We'll see each other on Monday. Remember que quedamos en que los viernes vamos a hacerlo asincrónico. So, el viernes voy a subirle una tarea, and you guys are going to have the weekend to complete it. And remember, the due date is for Sunday, but you still have a week after that to complete it before the... Yeah, no, Genesis, no te preocupes. I saw you. ¿Qué estaba diciendo? Anyways, so yeah, all these assignments are going to be open for a week after their due date. So no se preocupen si no le da break para hacerlo el viernes o el sábado o el domingo, because you still have the rest of the week to complete that. Pero cuando cierra, cierra. So yeah, I'll upload the assignment on Friday, and I might upload a little video explaining it. El aviso, pues por lo menos last Friday I did that video. It was about 11 minutes long, and I'm still new with editing video and stuff like that, so it took me about 2 hours to actually get that to work. So puede ser que para el tiempo que estemos en clase, I might have the lesson ready, but como les dije, sometimes it takes me longer to do things, so I might just upload it a little bit later during the day, pero de que va a estar ahí, el viernes. Y Gabriela, I don't know if I said this, pero de la manera que yo paso lista es que when I don't like to do it at the beginning now because it takes too long. So what I do is when class ends and you guys are gone, entonces yo veo quién estaba en el chat, quién escribió, quién estuvo participando, and then I write that in my physical list. La última presentación voy a subirla ahora mismo, Sonaide. So thank you for reminding me, actually. I'll do that right now. If there's any more questions, pueden quedarse un minutito si quieren y si pueden. Si no, pues I will see you again on Monday. Cualquier cosa, recuerden que mi hora de oficina es a las 9:30, and you can just go to the link, which is available at the home section or in modules. Okay? All right, everybody have a nice day. Sonaide, Michelle, José, Jeremy, Sebastián, Rachel, Josué, Guillermo, Luis, Derek. Okay. All right, Angelo, ¿tiene alguna duda, algún comentario, anything?
Ah, no, es que me distraje, estaba explicándole algo a mi hermano. Y...
all right. Ah, pues está bien, Angelo.
Bueno,
I'll see you.
Buenos días. Bonito día.
You too. Nos veremos, cuídate. And let me stop recording, actually.